Hey, it's Emma Lockhart. I'm realtor with Team Locale at Nebraska Realty, and I have a guest today that wants to share some information about title insurance with you. So we have Al Nelson from Trustworthy Title and Escrow based out of here in Omaha. So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, when you got started, and then we'll get into some fun myths and misconceptions. Going to do some myth busting today with some title insurance.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Emma. I appreciate the opportunity to share some cool things about title insurance. And so I've been in title insurance since 2001. Around that time, refinances were a big thing, kind of like they are now. So the title company I worked at in the very beginning, all we did was refinances. But
Okay.
after 3 years, got into a bit deeper. Got in at a title company where they did all kinds of transactions, commercial, residential, purchases, refinances, and a lot of different things in between. So I've been in the business for a total of 20 years now.
Yeah, 20 years as of 2021. Congrats.
Yeah, crazy. And they haven't kicked me out of the industry yet, so
That's always good.
that's right. Started Trustworthy Title in 2017. Thought we could offer a little bit better service and courtesy, and I think we're proving to do that. Here we are.
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing about Trustworthy Title and Escrow. And again, congrats on being in the industry for 20 years. And so, as a real estate agent, when I'm writing up an offer for purchase and also working with sellers, but mostly you confront it as a buyer's agent, we talk about title insurance, how they want to take title, the difference between basic and expanded. Those are the options that they choose from. So if you want to share briefly, just in a nutshell, because I know there's so many different things to touch upon, but what's the difference between basic and expanded title insurance policies when it comes to property?
Right, right. So basic and expanded. And so you might hear also hear the term homeowner's title, and that would be the expanded version. So title insurance on a basic level is going to protect someone who is purchasing real estate against fraudulent claims, real claims, against their ownership of that real property. It's also going to protect their interests from liens, missed mortgages or unrecorded liens.
Delinquent
A
tax.
good example of an unrecorded lien are mechanics liens, right?
Mm.
Contractor may have done some work on the house and then he wants to get paid, right?
Absolutely.
And as well they should. So title insurance is there to protect people there as well.
Okay.
Now going above and beyond that, the expanded policy can help with issues, and I especially point to covenant issues. If you're moving into a neighborhood that has covenants and there's a covenant violation, say someone built a shed and the covenant said you can't have a shed, you have to tear that shed down.
Yeah.
And that costs money to tear a shed down. Now that could be a claim that can be filed under that policy. Now there are also issues if people do work without permits.
Yep.
The expanded
Some
policy can cover
DIY
issues.
homeowner stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a lot of people think that title insurance is like a homeowner's policy, like State Farm or somebody like that.
Like hazard insurance.
Hazard insurance, but it's not hazard insurance.
Mm.
It is a little bit different. So you typically think of like hazard insurance or risk insurance where they're replacing lost property, right? Like your car gets wrecked. And so if it gets totaled, they're going to give you a whole bunch of money to replace the car, within limits, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The difference with title insurance is going to cover risks up to the amount of the policy, which is typically the sales price
Okay.
of the property. And so, excuse me, getting all choked up and excited here. So if you go under contract for a property for $100,000, you're going to pay a premium based on that $100,000 purchase price, and the coverage is going to be for that $100,000. And so, also, there's what we call an effective date on that title insurance policy, and what that's saying is, on the date that your deed to that property is recorded, we're insuring issues previous to that date.
Oh, yeah. And that's what
Typically,
basic and expanded, they both cover that?
yeah. Now, there are some issues that I won't get into today under expanded, that some issues can be covered beyond the effective date.
Okay.
Um,
They say
so,
most of the time that effective date would be like the close date when they sign everything, or
yeah, the effective date is the date that we record that deed at the Register of Deeds office.
oh,
So we may have that closing date, say it's February 22nd today,
mm-hmm.
but if it's at 3 or 4 o'clock, we may not get that deed recorded until the next day.
Oh, yeah,
You
true.
know, yes, we want to get that deed recorded as soon as possible. That way, if somebody tries to file something competing, we beat them in that race. Just
Okay.
think about it for a second. If somebody, say a seller, fraudulently has 2 different contracts, and it's happened.
I
You know,
haven't had it happen yet. Hopefully I don't,
yeah,
but
and it's rare. Yeah, it's rare. They're going to close, say at 10 o'clock in the morning with one party, and say they're going to turn around and have another closing that same day later at a different title company.
mm-hmm.
What happens when one files before the other? And it's like, holy moly, you got a mess. You
Oh,
have competing claims for that property.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, those are serious issues, and that's where you need a good, competent title company who is going to get things closed quickly and then pay attention to how quickly they're getting things recorded.
Hmm. Okay.
Now, in the old days, quote unquote, the old days, right? They would run these documents physically down to the courthouse. Well, now technology is so cool, you can upload these documents into a system and it'll electronically record these
Nice.
documents.
Okay. That's what was going to be my next question, is how do you record it then? So you can do it digitally or electronically, whatever the term
Yep,
is.
absolutely.
Nice.
You know, both ways are still available, but it's just so more important to get your place in line, get those documents recorded electronically.
Hmm.
It's just so much quicker. And especially in this COVID age where documents that are mailed into the Register of Deeds, especially in Douglas County here, you can't go into there. You have to mail it in. And that might sit on somebody's desk for a few weeks.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, I think I had that happen recently. One of my clients bought some land and he wants to build on it. And so we just wanted to make sure that everything was transferred over and showed that he owned the lot. I mean, the builders were asking, does he own the lot? And I'm like, yeah, but then I went and looked and it still had the old owner 5 weeks later. And we were able to at least get in contact with the office that had the paperwork though. And they're like, oh, oops, it's been sitting on our desk. And okay, well, can you please record it and file it?
Right?
So that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, crazy things happen.
So tell
So,
us about some other myths or misconceptions. What are the things that people question you about the most, or things that you think people need to know?
yeah, so um, A few years ago, a lot of people think title insurance is a ripoff. And I remember I, I, me and my wife Kim, we tried sitting at a home show to see how that would work to pick up some business. And an old farmer comes walking by, just title insurance is a ripoff, and I can't believe you're out here. It's like, well, if you understood that title insurance does protect people from various things, again, the fraud, the misliens, mistakes made by different people in the process, uh, and claims real money is paid out. I think the last number I heard, it was in the billions of dollars.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
because of a title issue?
Absolutely, and this is countrywide. This is across the United
But
States.
still, that's a lot of money.
Absolutely, it is. So, and again, you're only paying a premium once, as compared to risk insurance, where you're paying a monthly or a yearly fee.
Yeah,
And so, and that premium that you pay, that continues coverage for as long as you own that property,
yeah, it's
right?
totally worth it.
Absolutely. So even if you're buying that $100,000 house, if you're buying that $50,000 rental, it doesn't matter. You're protecting an investment, right?
Hmm.
And for most folks, that's the biggest investment someone ever makes,
Yeah.
right? Um, it's funny, I get a couple calls each year where someone asks me to insure or help with their car title. You know, like, wait a minute. We don't deal in car titles. Title insurance, it doesn't have anything to do with a vehicle. Again, it has to do with real estate. Or they might ask us to escrow funds for some other type of non-real estate transaction.
Oh.
Um, no, we just deal in real estate. Um,
Yeah.
so bottom line, title insurance helps to protect and defend the ownership to that real estate that you purchased. Um, so another important distinction is we don't cover market value, we don't cover square footage, we don't even cover the address of the property. We deal in the legal description of the property, that lot and block in that subdivision
Hmm.
that you're purchasing.
Yeah, it's important that you make sure that legal description is the same for my point of view, because I've had it happen where we almost missed out on my buyers having a lot that they were buying with the property. There were two lots, one with the house on it, and the title company had only the legal description for the one with the house. And we were 2 days before closing, and we got, the updated title commitment to show everything was okay. And so as a realtor, we're not title experts, but we still need to know how to interpret that document and make sure everything on there looks good.
Yeah, absolutely. Legal description is everything, especially, and I would say, if you have someone saying there's two parcels of land, make sure and ask your title company rep, will you look at this, make sure we're including all the right property on this contract or this list agreement, especially the list agreement, so that it's then properly conveyed to any potential buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's being included or
True.
not, whatever the case is. I've seen where people own contiguous pieces of property right next to each other, but they only want to sell one part and not the other,
Mm.
right? And if they mistakenly list and then sell everything, you know, that's a mess to try to undo.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Yeah,
Yeah, but these are real issues that can pop up and have popped up,
it's true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's the Wild West sometimes.
Every day can be different, right? When you're dealing with real estate and titles and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always compare it to the Forrest Gump quote. life is like a box of chocolates. Well, title insurance is the same way, is you never know what you're gonna get. You know, what kind of situation is gonna pop up,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of problems you're gonna have to solve
Oh,
to
yeah.
get things closed.
Yeah. And that makes me think of one situation. I was helping a buyer get his first investment property, and the deal was supposed to be last year, and we thought it'd be quick close, cash, 14 grand, no big deal, right? Well, come to find out, the person we thought was the seller was actually the relative of the deceased owner who had passed away over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They never did a transfer of deed upon death, if I said that right. And so we were trying to get all of that taken care of. It took several months, but there was also a tax lien sale on the property. So we were trying to beat the clock with them redeeming that. Anyway, we won't get into all the details, but I guess my point is, when you own a property, make sure that title is correct, everything looks good. If you're planning on transferring it to family upon your death, or if something were to happen, make sure that's done ahead of time and that you have done it in the proper ways, or else it will create a huge mess when you try to go to sell it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the number one issue that comes up with deceased people who are entitled, and people who think they have authority to sell that real estate when they have not necessarily been given that authority,
Mm-hmm.
especially when a probate needs to be opened for a deceased person. And I've seen that a number of times where they're hoping for a quick close. But one specific example was a couple of years ago, and this very same situation popped up. The three brothers, it was their dad's property, but they didn't contact an attorney to start a probate. And so they gotten with their list agent. They had the list out there. They got it under contract, and it took another week to get an attorney involved. Another week after that to get the probate started. And by that time, it was into Thanksgiving,
Oh,
and the court was going on vacation.
oh no.
And so that delayed things until the buyer then didn't have funds available and couldn't purchase, so it fell apart.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately for me anyway, and the sellers, um, they were able to get things together and find another buyer pretty quickly and brought it back to me,
Oh,
so we
good.
could then see it to conclusion.
That's
But
good.
you know, one buy agent lost out and another one gained.
That's the name of the game, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's a clue to the list agents. If you hear somebody who is the owner of the property is deceased, talk to your title company rep to take a quick look to see what might need to happen. We might need to start a probate now so
Mm-hmm.
that you can get it properly listed with the person with the right authority.
True.
As a probate, you have to appoint a personal representative for that estate.
Good advice. Very good advice. All right. Well, any other myths or misconceptions that you encounter in the title insurance world?
Yeah, I think that's a good summation. I always say, give me a call if you have anything pop up. If you've heard of anything, let's talk about it. You can always reach me.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Al. It was great to hear about your story and have a brief explanation, at least to get an idea of what title insurance is, and that it is actually really crucial to have. It's not just a ripoff, as was that old farmer said.
Right. Yeah. Thanks so much for the opportunity, Emma, and wish you well.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
You bet.